What's happening, y'all? Yeah, I'm a little late to this. I was gonna do this like much sooner, but hey, fuck it, man. So yeah, for this one, I'm actually gonna do something a little bit different. I mean, not that different, but normally I do talk about like the newer music first, and then I go into like just older stuff. But actually, I'm gonna switch it up, and we talk about a little bit of the older stuff. And at least for yesterday was Halloween, spooky as shit. I know what you're thinking. What did I go as for Halloween? And I went as the sexiest motherfucker alive. Unfortunately, I can't take that shit off. And always for Halloween, there's one album in particular I always go back to, and I feel like it's just an essential album to always listen to for Halloween. It's Without Warning by 21 Savage, Offset, and Metro Boomin. My favorite track off that whole album is the first track, Ghostface Killers. It sets the tone perfectly for the rest of the album. Like, you get a lot of those dark piano vibes that Metro's so good at creating for an entire album, and it's amazing. The fact that this also was a surprise drop back then is, it made it, it was great. It tied in even with the title, Without Warning. The Travis Scott feature, I think the Travis Scott feature is actually one of his most underrated in my opinion. I think it's one of my favorite features that he's ever done. And then of course Offset and 21 Savage, they do their shit. And it's ironic because I feel like every year going further, I'm waiting in anticipation that we might get a Without Warning 2. It's probably never gonna happen. Another song I've been listening to was hashtag Certified by BabyTron. The beat is so strange to me, but I kind of like it. And I think what's even more strange with that song is BabyTron's ad-libs. Bro sounds like a fucking Angry Bird the entire time, and I don't like the music video to the song either. I don't know, I like it, but I don't. It's the fucking braids that he has. Like, the shit looks disgusting. I don't know why, but the beat is like so, I don't know, if I don't want to say it's different for BabyTron, but it's compared to like what I've heard, it's different in a way. That's the only way I could ever put that song. Another song I've been listening to was It's Mine by Lil Shimmy. And yeah, I previously talked about his song For Me. To me, It's Mine is very much in line with how I felt about For Me. Dark piano playing, mixing with some of those, with some of that bass. And him getting into like a very melodic bag. I haven't heard a whole lot from Lil Shimmy, just that song and For Me. I've been thinking about actually getting a little bit deeper into some of his other music. I heard somewhere he's coming out with a new project. I might cover that. We'll see. As far as the next song goes, this song is a fucking classic. I watched the Lego Pharrell movie. It was actually surprisingly pretty good. One song that is one of my favorite, beats that Pharrell has ever produced, and that was briefly featured in the movie, was All Right by Kendrick Lamar. It's a fucking classic. I think definitely when you do listen to TIMÖ Butterfly, every song is very different. I think All Right it stands out on its own. I don't want to say it's trying to be that popular song, but it's definitely like when you hear it, it's like, oh yeah, that sounds like it would be the more kind of popular kind of song. Maybe that or King Kunta, but I don't know. And then speaking of movies, I'm still surprised we still haven't received any word about when the film Bando Stone in the New World's coming out. And actually the track off that album I've been listening to quite a bit was No Excuses. Also, it's fucking amazing that like I went at the perfect time to go see Childish Gambino, now that he fucking canceled the rest of the tour due to his surgery. And it sucks that that's the case, because this song in particular, I said it back when I did go to the concert. I said this in that video, but this song was so great to hear live. It did act more as like an intermission for the concert, but what was so great about this song in particular was just that live band. The live band actually playing, and it's more instrumental. It's more of like an instrumental kind of song. There's not a whole lot of singing that Childish Gambino does. It is fucking 7 minutes. I wasn't that crazy on the song when I first heard it, but you know, over time I've really started listening to it more, and I love it now. Kind of getting into the newer music. I'm not gonna lie though, I was planning on not really doing another one of these videos for like another month, because like I thought this month was gonna be so dry. Like I didn't know of anything. Yeah, the only project I really knew that was coming out was LYFESTYLE by Yeat, and you know, he did previously release an album already this year, 2093, which is an album that I was very much surprised at, due to how much I don't really care for Yeat's music, but I found myself really enjoying 2093 a lot. And with LYFESTYLE, it definitely goes, I think, a little bit backwards sonically. It's not as sonically complex as I feel like 2093 kind of was, but I do think that that's okay with, I think, this album, and I was shocked at how I was even enjoying this album a lot. I won't say it's better than 2093. I don't think so, but I think I like the darker kind of, you know, synth aesthetic that he has in his music, and I've started to kind of warm up to a lot of his music throughout the majority of the year, and I'm kind of stuck between two tracks that are my favorite, in particular mainly Eliminate, but the one I'm gonna be talking about is Geek Time, which is the first track off the album. It's such a simplistic beat, but to me, I don't know. It's the delivery, the low voice delivery for the hook, and then he raises his voice a bit when he gets into his verses, and I don't know, it's a banger, man. The next song I want to talk about is a song that I don't really listen to Wizkid, but he did release a song called "Piece of My Heart" featuring Brent Faiyaz. I loved this song sonically. Like the instrumental, at least for the first half of that song, is so great. It does give you a lot more of kind of like old R&B kind of aesthetic. I know it's Afrobeats, but yeah, it gave me a lot of like old school R&B, and I do think Brent Faiyaz did help with that. The second half also kind of has that, but I don't think it's as prominent, if you know what I mean. I would definitely highly recommend the song. It's just a how do I put it? I don't want to say it's just a vibe, because I think vibe is just a cheap word to use, but at the same time, it's a vibe. I don't know what other way to put it outside of it's just a vibe. Another song I do want to talk about briefly that came out this month was "Still in the Paint" by Denzel Curry, Laserdisc, and I don't even remember who the fuck else was on here. But Denzel Curry, I know he's planning on releasing a deluxe to his latest project. It's a great song. I like it. It's very much in line with what he was doing on the album. As you guys know, I did actually really enjoy that project. And the hook is great. The hook is great from Denzel Curry. Obviously, I like his verse. And I think both features did a great job. I've heard a few Laserdisc 7000 songs, but like not a whole lot. And I really liked his rapping as well on here. But like I stated earlier, I wasn't planning on doing this video. And then like a couple weeks prior to making this video, at least, this motherfucker Tyler the Creator announces a brand new album called CHROMAKOPIA. As far as my thoughts do go on Tyler the Creator, I really started to get into his music almost about a decade ago when he did release Flower Boy back in 2017. I really enjoyed that project. It was a great introduction to get into his music. I've heard his previous albums before. I'm not that crazy on Goblin or Cherry Bomb. I thought Bastard was okay, and then obviously Wolf I think is pretty good. It's pretty good. It's not the greatest, but it's good. And then 2019, he released Igor. Out of these 4-album run from Flower Boy to CHROMAKOPIA, this might be my least favorite project personally. I still think it's great. I agree it's a classic, but I don't know. It's a little overrated for me. I think I'm just not a fan of when Tyler the Creator does pitch his vocals and puts it to a higher pitch. I get it for singing, but for rapping, it bothers me. I went to my very first concert, which was Tyler the Creator for the Igor tour. Great time. And then 2 years later in 2021, he did release my favorite album of his, Call Me If You Get Lost. Great album. I'm a big fan of like the braggadocious, I'm him kind of energy that he brings to that song. Very much a victory lap. And at least when it comes to tradition, Tyler the Creator always releases an album every 2 years. So last year, I was expecting a new Tyler the Creator album. I was like, hey, we're going to get new Tyler the Creator music. It's going to be great. And we kind of did. We did in the form of a deluxe to Call Me If You Get Lost, which I thought was a great addition to the album. Sorry Not Sorry is one of my favorite songs, period. I did go to the tour for Call Me If You Get Lost, which I thought was actually even better than his Igor tour. But yeah, when we got that deluxe, I was thinking like, oh, you tell me we're going to have to wait essentially 4 years for a new Tyler the Creator project, a whole new project. But no, he breaks tradition. Instead of waiting another 2 years, he releases it this month, and just out of fucking nowhere. And immediately, like, just breaking tradition alone, I was like, this has to be something special. Because for one, I was already hooked with the fact that we were going to be waiting even longer for a Tyler the Creator project, because I am a believer that if you do take your time with a project, it does come out very well. I mean, there are a few examples where it doesn't. Another thing that you dropped on a Monday, which was very strange. It was strange waking up at 6 o'clock in the morning to listen to the album, and then I had work. It does have the 10th track always be like a two-parter track, or multiple tracks inside of the same track. For this one, he didn't do that. So this was definitely getting me a little more excited to be kind of diving into this project and seeing what he was doing, what was new about it. And of course, as I was expecting, this album did not disappoint. I don't want to say it's album of the year by any means, but I do think that production-wise, writing-wise, and performance-wise, Tyler the Creator's at an all-time high with this project. For songs like Darling I or Judge Judy, those songs like are some of his best songs production-wise, I feel like. And then writing-wise, even with a song like Take Off Your Mask, Hey Jane, like those are so great writing-wise. And then performances like Saint Chroma, or I mean, just about any one of the tracks. Like, they are all great performance-wise, production-wise, and writing-wise in general. But I don't think that this is my favorite album of his, though. Still, I would still go with Call Me If You Get Lost as my favorite album of his. And at least touching on the writing portion a little bit more, this is definitely his most mature album, where he's talking a lot more about paranoia, and how he handles the fame, as well as a lot of the thoughts of him being at the age that he is and having society almost having like a certain standard that you're supposed to be at the age of 30, and he's not there. Instead, he has just the fame and whatnot. And definitely it does remind me a lot of Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. I won't say as deep as in terms of subject matter as I think that Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers is, but it's definitely like almost like something that you could tell that he was very inspired by that album. And of course, you can't talk about a Tyler the Creator album, at least a new Tyler the Creator album, without talking about the features. When it came to Igor and it came to Call Me If You Get Lost, those were the biggest ones because you had hidden features on both those albums. And of course, on this one, you had hidden features on here too, but I will say, I do think the features did take a bit of a backseat on this album. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, especially given the fact that he made up for those features, I think, in terms of the writing, performances, and the production. I was really surprised by Glorilla and Sexy Red on Sticky, and I really like Lil Wayne on Sticky as well. And one of the last things I was actually expecting to be on the album to begin with was not one, but two songs with Childish Gambino. And I was a little disappointed that he didn't have like an actual verse and he was more background vocals. It was still great nevertheless. My favorite feature though is still Schoolboy Q on Thought I Was Dead. But of course, I've talked enough about the album. So what's my favorite song? It's Ratata. I like deep and meaningful songs from Tyler the Creator. They're great. But I also really like when he, gets in his braggadocious bag and he starts rapping like crazy and he starts, talking his shit. In particular, I really love his performance on here. His performance is so fucking great on here with a lot of like the vocal inflections that he kind of does. And I thought we were done there. But then there was just a couple things that did come out, today actually. In particular, I'll talk about it, get it out of the way. South of France remix with Future and Travis Scott. I really like the original South of France with Future off of what the fuck was it called? Oh yeah, Mixtape Pluto. I forgot for a second. But after hearing the remix, shit, I don't even know why you even had that one on the album. Why didn't you just put this one with Travis Scott? If Travis Scott was the only feature on Mixtape Pluto, that would have been great. He has a pretty good feature on here. It's not the craziest thing in the world, but it's still great. And I'm not that crazy about when Future or Travis Scott do link up to do a collab. But I will say, ever since I heard Telekinesis, which is, I think it might be my favorite Travis Scott song. But ever since I heard that song, I started really understanding, I started actually seeing some of the chemistry that they have together. As much as I like 3500, it's not even I don't think 3500 has that big of chemistry between Future or Travis Scott. And then same thing with the song Life First Off, but it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't until Telekinesis. But this song, that I can hear the chemistry between them. Definitely, I think when they do get into more of their melodic bags together, it definitely, that's when I feel like that they work the best together. Even though I think Type Shit wasn't, a melodic song, Travis Scott having the melodic part on that song was the best call for that song. The last album that I just was not fucking expecting to drop at all, let alone today, was Eternal Atake 2 by Lil Uzi Vert. And I haven't touched a whole lot on Lil Uzi Vert. I know last time I talked about how there may be a revitalization of Barter 16. Now I know we're never going to get that project since, Free on Thug. And as far as projects do go from Lil Uzi Vert, I'm not the craziest when it comes to them. My favorite project from him, and still to this day, I think it's a flawless mixtape, is Lil Uzi Vert vs. The World. I'm not even that crazy when it comes to Love is Rage 2, which people consider to be a classic. It has some of Uzi's best songs ever, but at the same time, there's songs on there I cannot listen to. And I kind of felt the same way about Pink Tape, which was his last project that came out last year. I won't say it's the same thing as Love is Rage 2, but definitely, like I said, it has really high highs, Flood of the Face, I got a Pluto to Mars, but at the same time, man made a cover to Chop Suey. No one asked for that shit. And I was not expecting at all a sequel to Eternal Atake as it was, because I thought Eternal Atake was a good album. I don't think it has as high of highs as Love is Rage 2 or Pink Tape, but I thought Eternal Atake was a pretty good album for the most part. And of course, it was such a hyped up album when that first came out. It came out in the middle of the day. Nobody expected it to drop. And as far as what do I think of Eternal Atake 2, granted I've only heard it once, but I thought Eternal Atake 2 is not as good as Eternal Atake 1. At the same time though, I think this is going to be a very much a hated album from his community. Especially, I was shocked considering how different the album was, much like how Pink Tape was very different for what he normally does. That isn't to say that I don't like the album. I thought the album was alright. I think the album was alright. I do think I needed to listen to it a few more times. But one thing that I was also kind of shocked at that he didn't do on this, because it was very apparent, at least for the rollout of the album, was that he was kind of continuing almost the story that he was doing on Eternal Atake, and that's very apparent in the rollout. But on the album, I can't even piece together what the story is supposed to be. Very much for the trailers, it was very clear that he's been abducted, and it's almost like he's kind of been put into this almost like a Truman Show kind of sense with these aliens or whatever. And he doesn't do a single skit on here or whatever that he did compared to what he did on the first one. And one thing that I don't know how I feel about it yet, part of me doesn't like it, but part of me kind of does. And normally I do like when Uzi does his kind of deep voice that he does on songs like Early 20 Rager or Diamonds All on My Wrist. Here, and I know this was a big thing on the song Fire Alarm that was on Pink Tape, where it was a lot deeper than what we've heard before. And I think with this album, he really honed in on that. But this sounds almost like copying Cardi in a way. And I feel like that's something that a lot of his fan base is probably going to hate. Like I said, I don't know how I feel about it, but on one hand, I don't like it. On another hand, I think it could work in the right way. I think on this album, it was... I don't know how to feel. As far as songs do go on this album, I really liked We Good. I did like The Rush, which features Big Time Rush, but they're only in the beginning, just saying a couple lines and that's it. Not an Option is another song I like. Perky Sex reminds me of like a very melodic kind of Future song, but in a good way. But as far as my favorite song does go, it's probably the last song, which is Space High. That definitely gave me a lot more of like that old school kind of Uzi vibe that I like, but at the same time kind of, still doing his own thing, And another big thing that was big with the first Eternal Atake was the deluxe, which was essentially Lil Uzi Vert versus the World 2. Whether if the deluxe to this album is going to be Lil Uzi Vert versus the World 3, I don't know. I guess that's just something we got to wait and see. And as far as the rest of the year does go, we're still waiting on I Am Music to drop by Cardi. I know Kanye West has started teasing his new album, Bully. We'll have to wait and see how that goes. Still waiting on more announcements from Baby Keem. Denzel Curry Deluxe, which I mentioned earlier. The Party Never Ends, coming out this month. I'm interested in that. I know new ESTG album coming out, November. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see, man. Like, I'm excited. Like I've already stated before, Young Thug's out, so hopefully, maybe not an album, but hopefully new Young Thug music. I'm interested in seeing where he goes after that plea deal.